This next one comes from one of our viewers, Jak Bell. Bell wrote to us saying that he and a friend had recently captured some photos at an old pool hall in Stockport, Manchester, UK. The pair were standing at the front door at noon, waiting patiently for the hall to open up. Eventually, the manager unlocked the door and Bell and his friend went to the back of the building where there's a quiet section filled with snooker tables. Bell took a snap of his friend taking the first break of the day. He uploaded the snap to Facebook and thought nothing of it. However, a short while later, his mum commented on the photo, wondering who the ominous black figure in the background was. Confused, Bell took a look, and indeed, there's an unknown dark figure standing in the background. Bell and his friend were the only ones in the back room at the time, as the hall had only just opened for the day. Bell says there's only one door into this area and that they actually had to turn the lights on when they first arrived. They're certain that no one else was in the room at the time this photo was taken. Freaked out by the photo, the pair showed the manager the snap. The manager said that a lot of staff don't like opening or closing the building because they often feel like someone's watching them, or they catch a dark shadowy figure out the corner of their eyes. But when they look around, there's no one ever there. Some staff members have even reported hearing the toilet doors swinging and banging all on their own. Bell says the snooker hall opened back in 1984, but the building itself was an old mill dating back more than 100 years prior. There are few cities in the United Kingdom that can rival Manchester when it comes to stories of hauntings and paranormal activity. The city has a long, rich history dating back centuries, and it seems that many of the spirits who once inhabited its streets may still linger today. One of the most well-known haunted locations in Manchester is Central Library. The building is said to be home to a number of ghosts, including the spirit of a librarian who died in the 1930s. Visitors to the library have reported seeing her apparition wandering the stacks, as well as feeling an icy presence. Another famous haunting surrounds the curious tale of the Manchester mummy. Hannah Beswick was an affluent woman who, like many of her mid-18th century contemporaries, had a pathological fear of being buried alive. At the time, premature burial was rife as there were many medical uncertainties about the final signs of death. After her passing in 1758, Hannah Beswick's body was embalmed and kept above ground in an old clock case at Dr. Charles White's home in Sale, Manchester. Eventually, her body was donated to the Museum of the Manchester Natural History Society, where she became known as the Manchester Mummy. Now, here's where things get a little spooky. Before Beswick died, she told her family that she had hidden a large sum of her fortune in a secret location. However, she died before she was able to tell anyone where exactly she had hidden her gold. After she died, her palatial estate, Birch & Bower, was converted into workers' tenements. Years later, many residents living in the converted building claimed to see a strange woman in a black silk gown wearing a white cap. They said the woman looked exactly like Hannah Beswick. The witnesses claimed that the figure would float eerily through the parlour, then vanish at one particular flagstone. It's said that this sighting would take place time and time again. Then a few months later, when renovations were taking place to install a new loom, a weaver discovered a hoard of gold stashed under the flagstone, right where Beswick's apparition would allegedly disappear. Years later, the entire building was demolished to make way for a factory, and even then, workers reported seeing a strange lady dressed in black walking through the yard. So then, there appears to be no shortage of paranormal stories lingering in the old streets of Manchester. Could our viewer, Jak Bell, have snapped his own piece of history with this eerie Shadow Man sighting? Take another look and decide for yourself.